Little tiny leprechaun lunatic here, Ben Shapiro.
So on Sunday, an active duty Air Force member set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. to protest the war in Gaza. And this, of course, has unlocked all of the worst hordes of the internet who have decided that apparently this member of the Air Force, who was a disturbed anarchist, was some sort of hero.
Ben Shapiro either legitimately doesn't understand what the word anarchist means, or he's just using it for propaganda purposes. Either way, it's pathetic. I think, legitimately, I think you're seeing both of that in our mainstream media, just using the word anarchist as just a tar and feathering, and people don't understand what it means, and it's good for propaganda. So anarchist, and they don't even bother to define it. I'll get to more of that in a moment.
That has some really bad implications for politics and for morality and for virtue.
This guy pretending he has morality or he stands on the side of morals or ethics is amazing. It is bananas. This is a guy who has day after day for 147 days endorsed genocide, endorsed murder of children on a mass scale, a massive scale. 37,000 people are dead or missing. 30,000 are known dead. 70% of those women are women and children. So the idea that he's going to tell you about morality is just bonkers. It is like a dark Sith Lord with blood dripping out of his mouth going, I think this is a bad thing for morality. You shouldn't behave that way, you know?
The person's name was Aaron Bushnell. Aaron Bushnell was 25 years old, and he was, in fact, a disturbed anarchist. How do we know that he was an anarchist? Well, because he said so. So, first of all, this should raise some serious questions about how we actually screen for the American military.
There he is again. Anarchist, 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 right? It's so dirty. Oh, my God, he's an anarchist. Anarchist actually has a definition other than just, I like seeing shit set on fire. That's what people want you to believe it means. It actually does have a definition, folks. That is not the propaganda that you hear. It means basically you're against rulers. You're against people ruling over you. You're against a hierarchy where the president is at the top and the Congress and your police officers are above you in the hierarchy of the rulers of our society. You are welcome, and I encourage it, to debate whether that's how you'd like to see the society set up. There is plenty of debate to be had about that. There are plenty of books written on how anarchy is the correct way to set up a society. Anarchy is a bad way to set up a society. But it does not mean, when someone says they're an anarchist, it does not mean they're just out of their minds. It does not mean they just want to see everything on fire. It does not mean that they don't want to see people happy and healthy and living and in a peace-filled world, in a sustainable world. There are plenty of anarchist and anarchist activities that are all about caring about human beings. And in fact, most of the anarchists that I've chatted with believe that we would get to a more peace-filled world and that people would be educated on how to have an actual community of equality. Because guess what? If you don't have hierarchy, you have equality. What? How could that be? So they believe that we could actually get to a place if you had a different culture and a different education and a different way of preparing people for the world, where we volunteer to do all of the jobs in society, and various people do various jobs, and there's different ways of setting this up. Some anarchists believe that in an anarchist community, you would have people, let's say, some sort of security. You'd have security guards or whatever you want to call them, community police, and that would be on a rotating basis. So one person might be the security guard this week, but next week they're not. So therefore, they're not going to run around arresting the black people and harming people and treating people like shit, because the next week they're not in that position any longer. But another thing has to do with like anarchist activities like mutual aid, which I have volunteered with mutual aid. Mutual aid across this country did so much good during the pandemic, but still now, where people needed groceries, they needed help, they needed medicine, people had no money and didn't know where to go. And you had mutual aid groups across the country, and again, they're still going now, that helped a lot of people. We're talking thousands and thousands of people were helped by mutual aid groups. Those groups are based on an anarchist principle without a hierarchy. Now, does that mean that everyone there's a lunatic and they just want to murder people? No, what this lunatic here, Ben Shapiro, wants you to believe is that anybody who identifies as an anarchist or has been in an anarchist meeting or has read an anarchist book is a absolute disturbed radical lunatic who wants to shoot everyone. Ben Shapiro is so relying on that propaganda having already settled into your brain that he doesn't even really bother to define anarchist. He just says he was an anarchist. And as long as you say it in that tone, he was an anarchist. His average viewer and most people, I guess, around the world go, oh my God, he was an anarchist. And so he's relying on you. Either he's relying on you being an idiot or he's an idiot. Now, it is tough to tell with someone like him. Is he just treating you like an idiot or is he an idiot? I don't always know. It's, again, yeah, you guys can rehash that, hash that out in the comment thread. Is he a moron or is he a smart guy who just thinks all of you are morons?
And the simple fact of the matter is that the standards for the American military have been dropping pretty radically. This guy was an IT specialist and he'd been in the military for several years. And he was, in fact, an active anarchist. Now, you know that the military has been targeting so-called white supremacy in the military. If you're a conservative in the military and you're open about it, that may call into question your loyalty to the U.S. military.
Did you catch that? He equates white supremacists with being conservative, meaning he thinks white supremacy is like fine because he views himself as a conservative, I think. So he's basically saying like white supremacy isn't a thing or it's okay. What he's saying is truly horrifying. He's like, they don't like white supremacists in the military. He uses scare quotes around white supremacists like there aren't white supremacists in the military. There have been extensive articles on the number of U.S. military personnel. Now, they don't know the exact number, but who are obviously white supremacists, have neck tattoos of swastikas and shit. There's been efforts by the military to get the most obvious white supremacists out of the military, but, and I stress most obvious, there's not been an effort to get just subtle white supremacists out of the military. But clearly that has upset Ben Shapiro because he's like, hey, I'm a white supremacist. Why are you not letting my people into the military? I mean, he literally is like annoyed that they're stopping white supremacists from being in the U.S. military.
Apparently, you can be a radical anarchist publicly, and that has no implications whatsoever for your military service.
He's adding words, by the way. Now it's a radical anarchist. Now, Aaron Bushnell did say he was an anarchist. He also was very involved in mutual aid. Why are we adding the term radical? Being involved in mutual aid? They gave groceries to people. That radical maniac.
Apparently, you can also be a disturbed person because it turns out you have to be kind of disturbed to set yourself literally on fire.
Now, this gets into a discussion, the meaning of disturbed. Yeah, I'd say that Aaron Bushnell probably had issues to want to leave this world, but is it any more disturbed than all of those in the military who are fine with genocide? And Ben Shapiro, who's fine with genocide, who actually goes on widely viewed programs like his own and tells everyone to celebrate and be fine with this genocide and endorse this genocide by Israel? Like, to me, that's disturbed, very disturbed, aggressively disturbed. That is incredibly disturbed to celebrate bombs landing on children and hospitals and schools and medics and aid trucks. Radical disturbed. This man, Ben Shapiro, is radical disturbed. But of course, he's just calling Aaron Bushnell disturbed. That's the only one who's disturbed, right?
And when he says in his suicide note, in his final note, that he was quote unquote complicit in genocide, the question would be exactly how, considering the United States Air Force is not even involved in the war in the Gaza Strip.
His first point is that, Ben Shapiro's point is that how could Aaron Bushnell be complicit in genocide when the U.S. Air Force isn't in the Gaza Strip? There's been plenty of coverage of how the U.S. and the U.S. military is involved in this genocide. Now, just because Aaron was in the Air Force, a arm of the U.S. military, and that arm might not currently be in Gaza, that doesn't mean he's not feeling complicit with it. The U.S. military is complicit with it. You have the New York Times reporting on 1,000 troops, I think, have already been sent to Israel. You have the Intercept coverage of the Pentagon memo telling U.S. soldiers in Iraq to be ready to help out in the case of an invasion of Gaza. You also have the New York Times saying that the CIA is in Israel helping Israel assassinate Palestinians. You have the drones that the military is piloting over Gaza and giving that intelligence to Israel to facilitate their genocide. The U.S. military, and then, of course, there's all the weapons contractors and weapons we're sending over there. So the U.S. military is like this when it comes to this genocide. They are linked hand in hand. This is a U.S.-backed genocide. So for Aaron Bushnell to say he doesn't want to be complicit in this genocide because he is in the U.S. military and the U.S. military is clearly helping with this genocide is 100% a rational thought. I'm not celebrating the tactic. I'm celebrating what he at least said he stood for. Now, again, I don't think people should kill themselves, but it is a rational thought to say, I don't want to be complicit in this. I'm in the U.S. military. That is complicit in this U.S.-backed genocide. Totally rational.
Not only that, there is not a genocide in the Gaza Strip.
Did you catch that? There's no genocide in the Gaza Strip. I bet you guys didn't know that. Yeah, no, not at all. And he goes on to act like it's a normal war. It's a normal military occupation. Just to remind everyone, the average percentage of children killed in modern warfare is like 4 to 8%. The percentage that Israel is killing is 43 or 45%. Israel is killing way more children. And the reason for that is because Israel is not fighting a battle. They are just erasing human beings. This is, even according to former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert, even according to him, this is ethnic cleansing. Okay? So Ben Shapiro is far, far right of the former Prime Minister of Israel, who said this is ethnic cleansing and that Israel wants all-out war, regional war.
I know that it has become commonplace for morons in the media to suggest a targeted operation by the
Targeted? How is this a targeted operation? They're bombing hospitals. They're bombing people in line at aid trucks. If this is targeted, then actually, if this is targeted, then you actually just said this is genocide, meaning they're not accidentally killing all these innocent people. They're targeting them. So, all right, then I guess you're admitting this is genocide.
Israelis in the Gaza Strip that has killed, according to the Israelis, upward of 10,000 members of Hamas.
Yeah, 10,000 members of Hamas, considering 70% of those killed are women and children. So you know they're not in Hamas, Hamas militant, because Hamas, again, is the government. So you can be a part of Hamas and not have nothing to do with Hamas militants. If 70% are women and children, which we know, then that means there's only 30% of the 37,000 that are missing or dead. There's only 30% that could even possibly conceivably be Hamas militants. But that would mean that every man above age, 18, that Israel has killed has been a Hamas militant. Does anyone believe that? Is there anyone who believes that? You can see the videos. These are not militants. Israel is just murdering everyone.
Or hiding among civilians.
Oh, God, that human shield garbage again. Is there any more debunked talking point in the world than the human shield garbage?
But that is somehow an example of a genocide?
It's actually the dictionary definition of a genocide. In case you were wondering, Benny boy, here it is from the Holocaust Memorial website. In case you wanted to know what exactly you're claiming is not going on here. Ratified as Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, 1948. The convention defines genocide as any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part. Keywords, in part. You don't have to kill every person for it to be genocide. Okay, that's why the Holocaust was genocide, even though, such as me and you, Ben, there are Jews still around. Doesn't mean it wasn't genocide. So, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. Okay, so any of the following acts, here they are. Killing members of the group. Do you think Israel's done that? Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Do you think Israel's done that? Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Literally, Israel has cut off the water and the food. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. That's one of the reasons Israel's been bombing the hospitals and killing all the doctors. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Israel has at least 10,000 hostages, many of them children, in Israeli prison. A number of specific actions have been deemed punishable under the convention. These are genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, which many Israeli officials have actually accidentally revealed genocidal talking points, such as Gaza should be erased, such as Netanyahu holding up a map of the Middle East before October 7th that had Palestine, had West Bank and Gaza erased, etc. Direct and public incitement to commit genocide, attempt to commit genocide, complicity in genocide. There's your definition, Ben Shapiro. And man, Israel fits every last aspect of that definition of genocide.
An example of a genocide, but I can assure you that is definitionally wrong.
Definitionally, is
Israel
it?
has complete air superiority for the 1,000th time in the Gaza Strip. If Israel wished to kill hundreds of thousands of people, Israel certainly has the air power to do so.
This is another one of these completely idiotic talking points trying to defend this genocide. If Israel wanted to kill more people, they could. That doesn't mean they're not committing genocide. There's nothing in the genocide definition that says you have to kill as many as you can, and as many as you are capable of. Israel has nuclear bombs. Yes, they could fire a nuclear bomb at Gaza. That doesn't mean that not firing a nuclear bomb is not genocide. It is one of the dumbest talking points I've ever heard. It's so dumb to say, well, they haven't quite killed as many as they could, so it's not genocide. No, that is nowhere in the definition of genocide. Phenomenally dumb talking points. I mean, of course they're dumb, because when you're trying to defend genocide, you have to be an idiot. You have to come up with idiotic talking points. You can't, there's nothing that could sound intelligent coming out of his stupid face holes. So you end up with this garbage. Anyway, wanted to bring that segment to you. That's about all I can handle. Hope that's all right.